Capi State University is facing unprecedented challenges when the world is currently confronted with COVID-19. Activities were abruptly stopped. Hence, higher education institutions should transform the crisis into opportunities. Therefore, this webinar series was conceptualized. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third webinar series. From the Philippines, Silimat Pangi, to our partners there in Indonesia. To start with the program, I would like to request everyone to place themselves in the presence of the Lord as we start the webinar series with an opening prayer.
As we commit to you, Heavenly Father, our greatest exaltation we offer. May you forgive our trespasses and sinning, for us to become worthy as we reconnect with you today. Thank you, God, for your never-ending love that enables us to have compassion with others, for the grace of life that we're able to serve your people. Thank you for molding us so we can help students shape their future, for guiding us so that we can also become light for others who go astray. In the time of troubles, we seek your help to steadfast every burden of life. In this time of crisis brought by the pandemic, may we become instrument of your love and mercy. Help us to realize more of our role as educators. Shower us with inspiration and motivation to keep going with our purpose despite the challenges we face in this new norm. Bless our institution, our staff, educators, clienteles, and the community we build for a better tomorrow. Bless this activity that we may be able to absorb new learning applicable to managing the vast changes brought by COVID-19 in the educational arena. We pray for more successes of this endeavor. Be with us as we continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. All this we ask in prayer through your Son Jesus Christ, our God, Savior and coming King. Maranatha. Amen.
And of course, to formally start the webinar series, this time we will be hearing a welcome message from the Vice President for Administration and Finance, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wenny Ligario.
Good morning, everyone. To the University President of the Universitas Marcobuana Yogyakarta of Indonesia, other officials, faculty and staff, to the University President of Capi State University, Dr. Edita C. Alfon, key officials, Dr. Martilino, who spearheaded this endeavor, faculty and staff, ladies and gentlemen, good day. The gesture of collaborating activity in spite to this pandemic times, a difficult time for all of us. Yet, did not stop Capi State University and Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, Indonesia, to find an avenue for sharing thoughts in terms of process in educating our young people to both countries. Partnering in development through webinar series now on its third series. Therefore, the possibility of more workshops, training, and learnings will be done. Doing this, helping one another for a common good towards development in an academic community in terms of strategies, approaches, techniques, and the availability of technological advancement, I do believe many things will be gained by both parties and be adapted as it suits to its purpose and necessity. With this, today I may say Cape State University will be a blessing to Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and the Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta will be also a blessing to Cape State University in the Philippines. Experiences will be shared both. This will be lead to a new process in educating our young people to both countries. It is hoped that this will continue to grow the partnership even stronger for the benefit of our respective clients in the end. In behalf of Cape State University, Mabuhay. Welcome to this endeavor today. God bless. Have a nice day. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wenny Ligario, the Vice President for Administration and Finance of Cape State University. And to speak and to welcome us further in the other side of this webinar series from University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, we have Miss Eliza Hartati, SPD, MPD, the Head of English Education Study Program of UMBY.
Sakto naman.
Thank you.
Ha? Unmute? Ha? Unmute ka na.
Honorable President of Capital State
Ay,
University,
unmute.
Mrs.
Ay,
Edna
bukalan.
Upon PhD, the Honorable the Vice President of Administration and Finance of Capital State University, Dr. Wenny Legario, and also the Honorable Dr. Martelino as Head of International Affairs of Capital State University,
Ang diri lang
our
ano.
speakers from both universities,
Ano, di ba? Hindi oh. Wala yan.
and the organizing committee, as well as the beloved participants from both countries, Indonesia and Philippines. Good morning. Selamat pagi. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your participation today. And this is another occasion that we have from several series. We actually have 5 series of webinar between Capital State University and also Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta. And this is the 3rd one. And we are still working for another collaboration between these 2 universities. And we would like to say thank you for the organizing committee from both universities and also for the participants for always being with us to listen and to gain the knowledge from this webinar series. I'm here representing from Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta because the rector of us and also the dean of the faculty couldn't attend for this webinar. We do hope that for collaboration that we have together here, not only from this webinar, but also several collaboration ahead will give us a shared knowledge that we can apply in our both universities, Capital State University and also Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta. The series of this webinar hopefully can give us lots of new knowledge, lots of shared experience that we can gain, that we can apply in our both universities, or probably the universities or wherever the audiences or the participants teach and learn here, because there are many things that we can learn together from the things that are shared in this webinar, especially in this pandemic situation. So again, I congratulate to the organizing committee for holding this series of this webinar. And I would like to say thank you once again for the participants for being with us to share and also to, to gain new knowledge together. And we do hope that this webinar series can give us valuable things, especially to make a better education for both countries, especially for the Capital State University and also Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, and also all the participants. You can gain lots of knowledge and also values from this webinar. So thank you for being with us and enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mom. And of course, for us to have a smooth conduct of this webinar series, allow me to read to you the rules and policies of this third webinar series that we're having with UMBY and Capital State University. The registration link could only be accessed through the link that you can see on your screen. This session will be performed by, or this session will be having two presenters for this session, and there will be one moderator that will lead this event. During the webinar, the participants might turn on their webcam. However, the host will deactivate the participant's microphone until we come to the question and answer section. Each presenters will have 25 minutes to deliver his or her thoughts. The question and answer section will begin after all the presenters finish their talk. Participants are supposed to join the webinar from the beginning until the end of the section. Only those who fill in the exit ticket at the end of the webinar will get the e-certificate in this event. Both the moderator and the presenters will use English as their language. All participants could give questions to the presenters through a chat box, or we will be inviting you to give questions using the microphone. The 10th, the presentation slides from the presenter will be shared before the event ends. And the last one, follow the PBIUMBY and Capital State University Instagram and Facebook page for the next webinar series. At this point, we will have a rundown of course, the program, so that you can have at least a bird's eye view of the webinar series that we will be conducting this morning. On the screen, the technical group will be sharing the rundown of the webinar series that we're having this morning. Of course, we started on time, and there you can see we have two speakers, and then after the speakers finish their presentation, we will be having the question and answer, and of course the concluding remarks. And we will be issuing exit ticket later on after the webinar series. So stay tuned for the following part of this program. And for the first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, She will be delivering a topic on the online manner matters. Does netiquette have to be taught and learned in remote teaching and learning? The first speaker is an English teacher in SMAN 1, Sewon, Yogyakarta, teaching English in the 10th grade. She is also teaching English for senior and junior high school and an English lecturer at the University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, teaching English language and education study program of Universitas Mercubuana, Yogyakarta. Having graduated from Yogyakarta State University in her master program of applied linguistics in 2012 to 2014 with complement as its predicate. She finished also her bachelor's program of English education at University or Yogyakarta State University with very satisfactory as its predicate. Her interest is English teaching learning, and she conducted also several researches as you can see on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pride and honor to introduce before you Miss Lulul Macnom, SPD, MPD.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ross Andrew. Okay, allow me to share my screen first. Wait for a while. Okay, could you please give me information whether my slide is already there? Hello?
Yes, Miss Lulu, we can see
Okay,
your
thank
presentation.
you. Okay. Okay, good. Sorry, wait for a while. Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lulu Maknun. You can call me Lulu. I am from University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. I do hope that you are in a good health and condition. I'm so honored for this opportunity that I can be the one of the presenter of webinar series as a collaboration work between Cape State University and University of Mercubuana, Indonesia. Dear colleagues from Cape State University and also University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, thank you for running and holding this beautiful webinar. And also to the excellencies, the Vice President for Admin and Finance, Dr. Weni Legario, and also the Head of Education Study Program, Mrs. Elisa Harati. Thank you. And then also thank you for the moderator, Dr. Ross Andrew, and also the honorable to the another speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Hazel. How are you? And dear all the participants, it's glad to see you all in this wonderful webinar. I would like to, share a little experience for what I got and what I learned during this pandemic. So probably I'm not going to do some theoretically. So my topic is online manner matters. Does netiquette have to be taught and learned in a remote teaching learning? Okay. Let's start with this question. Why does online manner matter? So I just wonder your thought or perhaps your opinion. So could you please to go to www.menti.com and use the code 709500903. Okay, could you please to see to share your answer about this question? Okay, while waiting your response, I will share my menti.com to know your response. This is your code 7095903. Why does online manner matters? So I can see your thought about the importance of online manner. Hello there. Well, no one answered. Hello. Hello. Okay, that's a great. Thank you for your response. Yes, to have smooth learning process and okay, smooth learning process. Online manner are a reflection of a person's character. Yes, I do agree with this answer and a sign of respect to the presenter. Showing interest in a subject is important. And also it matters to have a control and order in the online classroom. That's great. Yes, it's matter a lot because it will help you to gain trust and respect. Yes, to have enjoyable learning. Yes, it could be. And then because we are on a distance learning to communicate effectively, to avoid misunderstanding. Yes, to avoid misunderstanding, we need some rules, yeah, of the manners. And then to have order in the class. Wow, that's a great. Thank you for your response. I thought all of you do understand the importance of online manners here, right? Not only in offline environment, but also manner is important in online environment. Okay, let's thank you. Thank you for your response. I do appreciate. Wow, this is the long response. It helps us show respect, yes, and consideration to other and makes other glad. Yes, thank you. Okay, let's get back to the slide. Okay, yes. Actually, this question comes out from my mind when some of my students email and text me, especially in the first pandemic, yeah, when all the situation take place in online environment. And then let me show you the example of the email from one of my students. As you can see that in this email, there is no any, any specific subject. There is no any, the simple thing. There is no any personal information, name, the number of the student, name, greeting, and also causing. And the simple thing, there is no any say thank you there. And also only there is an attachment that this is the number of students, actually the attachment, but this is not a specific attachment that must be emailed to the lecturers. And also this one, this is the same email without a specific subject and also without greeting and closing. And this one, yes, this is one of the texts from my student as well, because commonly in Indonesia, we are discussing using WhatsApp or a group, WhatsApp group, something like that. And then we are keep in touch with my student with a WhatsApp. Yeah, so this one of the texts from my student using WhatsApp without any greeting, without any special, personal information, without any reason why he or she text to me, and then without any saying thank you there. So some example there make me realize that we have to, involve ourselves to guide and teach our students, not only for their academic aspect, like their cognitive aspect or skill, but also we have to teach and guide implicitly, or explicitly, especially or particularly in a manner, for example, in effective aspects. So they can behave properly even in an online environment. And then also this one, this is one of the texts for my student as well. It's a bit polite actually, but it's sent in the midnight. So it's an appropriate as well. We have to remind students to know the office hour as well. So they do understand where they have to text or call their lecturer or their teachers. That is okay. I guess they are still learning the process learning of the student. So that's our job to give some, some perspective or remind them to do to have a good manner later on. So yes. Okay, so talking about manner, it's represent about etiquette, right? So the term of etiquette are getting familiar with the term of manner. And then also from young age, we are taught to behave properly, and also we have to, have a good manner. Now, with many parts of our life moving online, especially during this pandemic around the world, including even education, a need has arisen for a set of specific online etiquette guidelines to apply to cyber behavior. And talking about online manner there, and then talking about etiquette must be related with a citizen, digital citizenship. Sorry, digital citizenship. As your info, digital citizenship can be defined as the norm of behavior with regard to technology. It can describe how people can navigate safely and ethically and appropriately in online environment. So according to Ribble and Bailey, there are 9 general areas of behavior, which is etiquette, communication, until security. But I'm not going to explain one by one. I just focus to number 1, that is etiquette. So it can be proved and seen that etiquette has the main point that to make up a digital citizenship. So as educator, we have to ensure our students for having a good etiquette in offline or in online environment. So yeah, this one. Okay, etiquette in online environment must be related with netiquette, or is commonly called netiquette, which is comes from 2 concepts, etiquette and internet, which refer to the set of ethical rules, politeness, convention, and then standard of etiquette that should be learned, understood, practiced by a user online to foster online communication. And also netiquette guideline dictate and what is tasteful, what is respectful, and then also how to speak respectfully without taking part in disrespect or bullying is among the main reason why we need this rules. And this one, okay, so during this pandemic, pursuing and struggling education online requires students to be motivated, focused, prepared, and also proactive. They have remote learning through discussion, board posting, composes responses, undertake homework assignment, and studies for exam by themselves. So they have to adjust for having some specific characteristic of online student. So the question is, do our students have the characteristic of online student? Yeah, we have to teach them, right? We have to, what is that? Guide them to have the characteristics of online student. According to Central Michigan University, there are 5 characteristics of online student: initiative, persistence, organization, engagement, and aspiration. I know all of you familiar with those words, right? So from those characteristics, based on my experience, I break down into the specific netiquette rules that are there are be initiative, be polite, be respectful, stay on topic, be scholarly, be professional, be engaged, and be inspired. Okay, well, the initiative here. Okay, in this netiquette rule, we have to remind our students to, to be initiative, to search or learn or read or understand first, especially when the teacher or the lecturers give some materials to them in the online environment, in online meeting, teaching, learning. So they have to have any curiosity to search themselves, to read themselves, to learn first before asking or joining the class. To to accommodate their initiative, it can be utilizing one of LMS to cover the online class. For example, in my experience, I use one of LMS. It's called I called Moodle. Yeah, it's called Moodle. But you can use any LMS as well. LMS is learning management system as your info. Yeah, I know all of you already know about the LMS. Yeah, there are Padlet, Google Classroom, Schoology, or etc. But I use Moodle for this semester. Allow me to see my Moodle. Sorry, wait for a while. Okay, this is my Moodle. Sometimes I use Moodle, sometimes I use Padlet. In this Moodle, I put all my materials there during the semester before join the class. So before meeting one, I have to put some course overview, course design, syllabus, some etiquette rule there, some etiquette rule there, and then meeting two, yeah, I start to upload materials and then slides and then forum, especially for forum. Commonly I jump to the WhatsApp group to discuss with the material we are talking about in that meeting. And then also I put some learning video to help my student understand the materials or the slide. And then also for the student engagement, I give some assignment as well, and then quiz as well. So I do understand the progress of each student when they join my class. Yeah. So I put meeting one until in the end of the meeting, some materials in this semester. So make sure that before my students join to my class, they do understand the materials. They learn the material first. But it's okay if sometimes they are failing and then they have to ask. Yeah, they have to ask in a discussion session using WhatsApp group or perhaps using this one. Sometimes I use this one, Padlet. So in Padlet, I can see the specific response from my student. For example, my student just click this one. I send the link from my Padlet to my students, and then I give some topics there, for example, and then they will respond the topic. We have some discussion session in a work hour or in a schedule of the subject we have. Okay, and then back to the next, back to the slide, and then we have a be polite, yeah. In this point, being polite on the internet should be as common as in a real life, and also be careful with the tone because yeah, we have to remind students they should be careful with the capitalization as writing is on all caps lock, yeah. can oftentimes be interpreted as yelling, and it's impolite. This is why the student have to make sure that their point doesn't get lost in any translation. And also not talking over someone, especially when we have synchronous teaching learning, and then also listening carefully, actively participating in a class, and also avoid using sarcasm joke. And this one, sometimes I give some a set of role communication using Canva like this. Yeah, this is actually the application that helped me to create some presentation slides, materials, and also the rules of communication. I will show you the rule of communication of mine later on. And this is be respectful. You have to respect people privacy, respect others' opinion, and also respect people bandwidth as well. Yeah, because some of students having a trouble with the financial. Yeah, so we have to respect other people's bandwidth, and also respect people privacy here. This means being careful with the password, private conversation, or even picture. So you are not allowed to share the picture of others, your classmates, your lecturers, perhaps without any permission from them. That's one of the Netiquette rule as well, right? But otherwise, it's okay when your classmates allow you to share. It's okay, but if not, my suggestion is you have to permission. You have to ask a permission to them. Yeah, respect on other opinion as well, because yeah, we have so many perspectives. So even we didn't agree or doesn't or do not agree with others' opinion, we have to respect them. So for for having miscommunication, I set the rule of communication as well to my student. This one using Canva, yeah. So for the information, you can set, some slides, some rules, and then some set of the rules, sorry, and then presentation, and then whatever using Canva, yeah. Okay, nothing is private online, so no real privacy on the internet. Share and post wisely. Avoid using inappropriate stickers or images that hurt, abuse, insult other, or probably will humiliate ourselves as well, right? So yes, no real privacy there, because we live in a day and an age where many things takes place online, and so probably something that we share, we post will will be there for a long time, right? And then stay on topic. Yes, understand what the discussion is about, reply to the things relevant, not getting lost in translation by typing too many unnecessary words as well. So my suggestion for the teacher or lecturer, we have to create a specific material, specific, yes. It's like interactive slide, interactive quiz, interactive learning video, something like that. You can use Canva for the materials. You can use a learning video. You can use Screencastify or Screen-O-Matic to cover you to create your learning video. And then also don't overuse the chat box, yeah. So mute microphone, especially when you have synchronous teaching learning. You have to mute microphone. You can unmute when your teacher give you some permission, and also open webcam when the discussion session is happening. And then for the asynchronous, teaching learning, you can, yes, prepare some learning video using Screen-O-Matic, so you can share to your student in such a video with while you present your materials using Screen-O-Matic. Perhaps later on I can, I can show you how to operate Screen-O-Matic. And then be scholarly and be professional. Please use proper language, grammar, punctuation, and spelling and communicating online. Yeah. Usually I ask the student to make it them easy. They have to use grammarly like this, yeah. So the student can check their spelling, their grammar, their language, yeah, into this application. For example, in this application, French is the ability, blah, blah, blah. And then there is some mistake there, important. We have to check, oh, what the choice? We have to change in other choice. It provides, oh, this is, there is a grammar mistake. So we have to change into provide with S, something like that. So it's easy to students to check their grammar, punctuation, spelling, and also language, yeah. And then also avoid using profanity or participating in hostile interaction, be on time, and then treat the online class as like the offline class. Make sure they have all the required material before class starts. Yes, they have to prepare, they have to learn the material before joining the class. That's why as a teacher, we have to prepare all the materials from meeting one until the end of the meeting, or at least prepare before we teach the class or we join the class, okay? And then be engaged, this one, yes. In this one, students have to submit assignment carefully, because in my experience, students sometimes get careless because they submit assignments in a different way. So we have to remind the student to submit assignment carefully based on the instruction, yeah. And then when, this is important as well, when they attach the file, especially perhaps Microsoft Office, yeah, they have to save us in a format, a specific format. Like when my student send the file, we have to save in a format name, subject, and a class, or rename them, rename the file with the specific format. So the teacher can list, yeah, or can recognize the file of their students very well. And also to improve and to keep the students' engagement, we have to create some, interactive quiz, or you can probably using, some application like quizzes, Kahoot, Elsa to assess, to assess listening skill, or to assess, what is that? Speaking skill, something like that. So it can engage the students' engagement, and also we do understand the progress of our students. And the last one is be inspired. Yeah, in be inspired, we as a teacher or a lecturer, we have to establish high expectation and clear goals. The student know what they hope to accomplish. And then this one, this is the example of my class. Yeah, I applied Canva to create the main map of EBC subject. So they understand the project they will face. They do understand the end of the process. They will create the business proposal, for example, in this Canva, and that probably will inspire them later on, help them to start their own business someday. So in my class, this is really work. And then, so the last slide, does Netiquette have to be taught either in remote teaching learning? For me, yes. And then why should we as an educator incorporate Netiquette rules in remote teaching learning? Because Netiquette can help students improve their communication skill, listening skill, time management, and empathy, among others as well. Prevent miscommunication, yeah. Netiquette rule can help promote professional standard of behavior in online environment as well. Netiquette help make the student keep conversation thread focus and overall discussion on track. So this is my references, and yes, we can teach Netiquette implicitly in the middle of a teaching learning process. It could be in the first meeting, or it could be in the middle of discussion session, remind them, or even reprimand them. Okay, thank you so much. Hopefully this short presentation will be beneficial for everybody here. If you have any question, please feel free to ask, or if you would like to share something new that I haven't explained yet in this presentation, sorry, this is your great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Lulu, just on time. And of course, I would like to remind everyone to please start writing your questions for Ma'am Lulu so that we can read that later on after the second speaker. Once again, Ma'am Lulu, thank you very much. A
Thank
very
you,
timely
Dr.
topic for this
Rosangel.
COVID-19. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the second speaker to deliver a topic on contextualization in language teaching. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English at Panay State Polytechnic College, Pontevedra, Capiz as cum laude, a graduate of Doctor of Philosophy in Linguistics with specialization in Applied Linguistics at Philippine Normal University, Manila, a research enthusiast who presented research papers in international fora and conferences at Osaka, Japan, Thailand, and Vietnam. Published a research paper entitled Echo Translation of Local Knowledge in Developing a Trilingual Glossary of Fishing and Aquaculture in the Journal of Philippine Fisheries. A project leader of the research studies and projects entitled Pagpanagat, Sustaining Traditional Fishing Practices in the Northern Panay, and Ambahanon, Recording and Compilation of Community Folk Songs, funded by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, a faculty of Capiz State University Ross City Campus, and at present, a director of publication and instructional materials of the university. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pride, and it is my pride to present to you or to introduce to you our second speaker, Dr. Hazel D. Joaquin.
Thank you so much, Sir Villaruel. To allow me to share my screen.
Nakabalik ka na da bang? Nakabalik ka na da.
Report to the key officials of the two universities, Dr. Edita Alfon of CAPSU, Dr. Alimutu Sarak of the UMBY, Dr. Winnie Ligorio, the Vice President for Administration and Finance of CAPSU, Dr. Mary Ann Martelino, the Vice President for External Affairs and Linkages of CAPSU, Ms. Eliza Hartate of UMBY, to my co-presenter, Ms. Lulu, organizers of this webinar, my co-presenter, participants, and viewers from Facebook, YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am Hazel Joaquin. I am from Capiz State University main campus. This morning, I will be sharing to you insights on contextualization in language teaching. In the past, language teaching is considered very simple. It is understandable since the utilization of a second language is very limited. But now, language teaching aims more than the utilization of the language. There should be an incorporation of cultural understanding, use of authentic tasks for learning activities, and employment of real-life assessment techniques. This means that language teachers should put the target communication skill in an authentic situation to make the process of language construction significant to the learner. In the development of the five language skills such as listening, speaking, reading, writing, and viewing, which is closely interconnected to the students' cognitive and metacognitive skills. Cultural activities can be easily adapted to various level of competence. In order to bridge the gaps commonly associated with the students' previous learning experiences, many strategies have been implemented to support a progressive development of skills which encourage language learning awareness and cultural understanding. It is where the concept of contextualization comes in. But what is contextualization? The Department of Education defines contextualization as a teaching principle in language education that gives emphasis to meaning making through authentic and meaningful activities and tasks designed to facilitate the use of related skills to suit to the context or culture of the learner. In real context rather than being treated or isolated item for language manipulation or practice only. The context can help learners remember the language and recall it at a later time. Moreover, contextualization is anything that a teacher does to help create understanding of language and concepts by using materials such as real objects, pictures, gestures, language, and etc.
No, tud. Nyara kada din. Hmm. Ginmute ni ano ah. Ginmute ni Jojo.
Okay, sorry for the interruption.
Sorry for the technical problem. So this moment we are fixing the internet connection. Please stand by. Seconds, I suppose. We will resume our broadcast via Zoom. Okay, so we're back. Dr. Joaquin.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Yeye. So sorry for the technical problem. Okay, so we are now on contextualization. As I said, the contextualization is anything a teacher does to help create an understanding of language or concept by using materials such as real objects, pictures, gestures, language, and etc. Contextualizing instruction then means involving active engagement, whereby students experience content in a way that creates higher level of comprehension. By contextualizing instruction, teachers ensure that students are more involved in their learning and are able to access the required content. Likewise, contextualization is also considering students' real environment. Okay, we are considering the real environment of the students in teaching. So that is also another way of integrating contextualization in our teaching. And here are examples to support the contextualization practices. So first we have the verbal amplification, then we have the visual support, And then we have the sentence patterning chart. Okay. So speaking of verbal amplification, it contextualizes key vocabulary and concepts, not by simply simplifying the language or the word, but rather by elaborating or amplifying them. This can be done with the use of additional language or additional words. Let's say, for instance, the cat is an excellent breed. This is a very good example of amplification, wherein the teacher might say, the cat is an excellent breed, full of intellect, loyalty, and helpfulness. So the additional words or language that we used here are full of intellect, loyalty, helpfulness to amplify the meaning of excellent breed. Okay, then we have also the use of visual support. The use of visual support is a strategy in which the language used in instruction is made more understandable through display of photographs or drawings. These allow students to hear the language of English while visuals are shown that connect them to the content. So to use this strategy, the teacher builds a collection of visuals related to the vocabulary or unit of instruction. So here, this is an example of a contextualized classroom activity that I designed for my college students. So in this activity, I projected pictures in the slides describing the activities done by the fisher folks, okay, for my students to see. And then I asked them to analyze also the pictures and let them write a short paragraph afterwards and to share that in class. So the display of pictures taken locally for them to analyze serve as the visual support in organizing their thoughts. So, but you can also use other pictures. Be sure that those pictures are within the context of your students, especially their environmental setting. Okay, another picture here. This is also, again, pictures which I took locally in the community to introduce the topic about the use of prepositions in and on. So these pictures serve as visual support in learning the usage of prepositions in and on. So I let them describe the pictures there using the prepositions in and on. So these are just some of the examples in contextualizing language teaching. Or if you have available sounds for that matter, so you can have also the support of audio for this one. So posting the pictures, then you will have your audio recording. Okay, so this works well for English language students. Okay, so then we have also sentence patterning chart. Okay, so the patterning chart is a color-coded chart where students create a sentence by placing words in the appropriate column that corresponds to the correct part of the speech. This also works well for English language students because of the color coding, as well as helping them classify the words into the appropriate parts of speech column. Try to look at this example. So I took this from the internet. Okay. So this strategy best works for identifying the parts of speech, especially for the intermediate or the high school or the junior level. Okay, so to further contextualize this kind of activity, the teachers may use words to be, may use words wherein it is on the understanding or interest of the students, meaning the teacher may consider the environmental setting again of the students, their interest as well, to further encourage them or motivate them to speak. Okay. And then it will also encourage them to participate in the activity if the words that you are using to them are of their interest and of course familiar to them. All right, so the big question is, how are we going to contextualize our teaching? So why is it there is a need for us to contextualize our teaching? Well, it is because of the following reason. First, we have it makes learning more relevant, meaning it makes our teaching more meaningful for our students. Another is it motivate and engage them, especially those who are hard to reach students, meaning those students which are of the low interest, or those who are not considered to be on the higher rank of our class, so our middle students. Okay, another is it increases learners' confidence and enthusiasm. Of course, if the students are interested in the topic, they are showing much interest and they are confident in talking. Then we also have enhances interest in long-term goals. Okay, and of course, there are also people who learn faster and better and retain information longer when they are taught in concepts or in context. Okay, now the big question again. How are we going to apply contextualization in teaching? For teachers would always say they are bombarded, or we are bombarded by numerous classroom tasks and paperworks, and that it is quite hard for us to make our teaching contextualize. Okay, so I have a suggestion here. If this is the case, we can consider the strategy REACT in making meaningful contextualized lessons. REACT stands for relating, E stands for experiencing, A for applying, C for cooperating, and T for transferring. When we speak of relating, so this is linking the concept to be learned with something that the students already know. It means that learning in the context of life experience or relating is a kind of contextual learning that typically occurs with very young children. However, with adult learners, providing this meaningful context for learning becomes more difficult for them. That's why the curriculum attempts to place learning in the context of life experiences, events, or conditions. It must then relate those everyday situations to new information to be absorbed or a problem to be solved. Okay, so relating to the experiences of our students. Take a look at this example of how I integrate relating in my class. So this is an output of one of my students in my English class. Okay, since we know already that it's been a common notion rather that we are experiencing pandemic. Okay, this pandemic has changed the normal lives of our students, and not just even our students, but all. So I asked my students to write occurring or relating on their own experiences and in their community as well. So this is the output of my students. So it was written by one of my students. Okay. So yes, you can see they can write anything. They can write more if it is within their experience, if they can relate to their experiences. Okay, then we have the letter E. E for X. Okay, so in experiencing, hands-on activities and teacher explanation allows students to discover new knowledge or new ideas. This means that learning in the context of exploration, discovery, and invention is the heart of contextual learning. However, of other instructional strategies. Example. Okay, so I asked my students to prepare a telephone role play to be presented in class. Okay, to practice functional language, observing, of course, the proper etiquette, correct grammatical rules, and of course, enunciation. So in this particular class activity, students are given the chance to experience real setting on how to answer phone calls, observing proper etiquette and correct grammar. Okay. So these pictures again, so this is again another example, one of my activities in my graduate school class. Okay, we went on a book launching. So these pictures were taken during our attendance to book launching in the Panublion Museum in the city. So I and my graduate students attended the said book launching and experienced some activities prepared for us by the organizers. So this activity allowed them to experience real setting, especially on how a book is publicly launched by the authors. For we all know launching. Next, we have the letter A, which stands for applying. Okay, so this means students apply their knowledge to real-world situation. So this means that applying concept of information in a useful context often projects students into an imagined future, like for example, a possible career, or into an unfamiliar location, like for example, a workplace. So this happens most commonly through text, videos, labs, and activities, first-hand experiences such as tours and internship. Okay, try to look at this example. Okay, I took this example again from one of the outputs of my student. Okay, so this is an output of my student in one of my classes wherein I allowed them to make a slogan showing people's different coping mechanisms in this pandemic. I just only asked for a slogan, but they submitted to me an output like this. So this is also contextualizing activities given to students. Okay, so you have there the direction says, using your knowledge on the 8 parts of speech, make a slogan showing people's different coping mechanisms in this time of pandemic. Okay, so that was done by one of my students. So I have here another example. This is again another slogan output of my student. Okay, this is again taken or anchored on the pandemic. So very timely. Okay, then we have letter C for cooperating. So this means students solve problem as a team to reinforce knowledge and develop cooperative skills. So learning in the context of sharing, responding, and communicating with other learners is a primary instructional strategy in contextualized teaching. The experience of cooperating not only helps majority of students learn the material, but it is also consistent with the real-world focus of contextual teaching. Okay, try to look at this example. So in this particular activity, I let my students listen to a recorded community folk song in their native language before letting them read a reading passage about cultural preservation. So after listening to the community folk song, I asked them to reflect on the message of the song and prepare a short dialogue portraying the message of the song. So they had, but it was so, unluckily I was not able to take pictures during their activity. But these are the things that I did, or these are the materials that I used in this kind of activity. Okay, the last one, the letter T. Letter T stands for transferring. So it means students take what they have learned and apply it to new situations and contexts. So it means that learning in the context of existing knowledge or transferring uses and builds upon what the students has already learned. Such an approach is similar also to relating. However, students develop confidence in their problem-solving abilities if we make a point of building new learning experiences on what they have already known. So it is somewhat like also relating. So I will be sharing to you some contextualization practices in language teaching, which were based on the results of the study of one of our MA students in the person of Miss Mariela Arroyo, one of our MA students in one of our MA students in Pontevedra campus. So for the listening skills, we have here, okay, we may consider the following practices in contextualizing teaching listening. First, we have use of real world examples such as real stories, plants, animals, and even persons in the community. Okay, so these stories may include those stories in the community, like for example, those folk tales that we have, okay, or anything that is of great contribution to the community. Okay, the plants, of course, those plants which are locally available also in the community may be also used for contextualizing your lessons. Animals, but we could not bring all animals in the classroom. Okay, so selected only. And even persons in the community, so we can invite our community leaders for that effect. Another is we have the use of local radio or broadcast. Okay, so we can listen to radio news which are aired. Okay, so we can record it or we can use this for our lesson, especially for contextualizing our lesson. Another is we have the recorded articles about community issues or topics related to the lessons. Okay, those emerging issues that we have in the community may also be used as a reading passage Teachers may also utilize audio recordings such as speeches of local leaders or prominent personalities. Okay, so or even successful persons in the community may also be used in this effect. Another is we have teachers may also download stories related to lessons from websites or social media for students to listen and make reactions or reflections. Okay, so these are just some of the practices that we may use for contextualizing the teaching of listening. We have also for speaking. Okay, so teachers may use role play or simulate local history or scenarios. Okay, so the local history that we have can be used also as our material in teaching. Next, we have relating what they have learned in class to what they have seen or experienced in the classroom. So meaning this is trying to dig into the previous knowledge of our students. We are trying to get their previous knowledge or previous experiences. Another is teachers may use debate or impromptu speech on topics related to the lesson that interest students. Next, conduct classroom-based panel discussion on class discourse. Another, we may assign our student to recite poems or literary pieces written by our local authors or writers. And then, of course, we can also let our student conduct interviews on topics related to lesson in the community. So these are just some of the practices, again, for contextualizing the teaching of speaking. Then for reading, teachers may relate content or theme of the reading text to previous experiences, again, and knowledge of our students. Okay, then we can also integrate local literary pieces such as poems, epics, legends, myths, or folk tales in discussing lessons in reading and especially in our literature class. Then we can also provide local reading materials like newspapers, magazines, comics, essays, short stories, recipes, novels, plays, and even poems. So these can be used also by our teachers. Then we have, the designing of puzzle or other reading activities in class. Then we can also let our students read biographical information sheet of local personalities and their significant contributions in the community. And of course, the last one for the reading, we can let our students read local newspaper articles to situate lesson content. Then for writing, okay, we can let our students utilize local scenarios in writing journals. Okay, so we can have our students write their own journal for this matter. Okay, and then we can also encourage students to search in the internet topics like cultural heritage of their place in writing compositions. Teachers may also encourage their students to experience first-hand activities like having a road trip going to their homes before writing essays, narratives, okay, or other articles. We can also let our students interpret local passages and write literary analysis afterwards. Okay, we may also assign our students to conduct researches that utilize topics within the community. Okay, so they can go on interviewing or making surveys. Then we can also invite local community trainers in the classroom to train the class on some local projects connected to the lesson, like for example, brochure making or travel brochures. Okay, and then for the last skill, okay, for the viewing. So we have there, okay, teachers may post pictures or photographs of local scenery to arouse students' motivation towards the lesson. They can also use pictures taken locally in making analysis of topics related to lessons. Okay, we may also encourage PowerPoint presentations about the local scenarios or local culture to enhance students' comprehension. Another is we can also use local films in identifying the genre of a material viewed. And we can also use video presentation using local scenarios or caricatures. And of course, teachers may also use diagrams, tables, flowcharts, maps, and graphs, which use data from the local community. So these are just some of the practices for contextualizing the teaching of viewing. So let us now examine the following pictures if this utilize contextualization in teaching. Let us try to view the first picture, conducting surveys. What do you think? Is it utilizing contextualization in teaching? Yes, it is. How about the second picture? Okay, presenting or preparing rather posters for presentations. Is it using contextualization? Yes, it is. How about this third one? Encouraging dramatization in the classroom, especially those scenarios that are known by students and happening in the community. Yes, it is. How about the fourth picture? Okay, doing some researches or research in the internet. Yes, it is. How about the fifth picture? Asking each other questions from the book. Is it practicing contextualization? No, it's not. Okay, so I hope you have learned something from this presentation. So here are my references.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joaquin, for enlightening us with the topic on contextualization in language teaching. And of course, we all know that contextualizing in the language teaching would also enhance cultural knowledge between and among students in a specific area. Thank you once again, Dr. Joaquin. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the question and answer. And please mute your microphone as we can hear feedbacks from different areas here. Okay, you can now send your questions for Manulul and for Dr. Joaquin. You can send it via chat box, or you can raise your hand so that I can acknowledge you to raise your questions via Zoom. Anyone from different campuses? And of course, from, yes, Dr. Harold Benvenida, you are recognized. Yes, sir, Harold, the floor is yours. You can raise your question, and please identify to whom you're addressing your question. Dr. Buenvenida. Okay, so anyone who would like to raise questions, and please address it to the
Hello,
speaker.
hi.
Yes, for
Good morning. Sorry.
yes, Dr. Buenvenida, is this okay?
Thank you so much, Sir
Yes,
Yeye.
sir, Harold.
Thank you so much also to our speakers, to Professor Lulul and Dr. Hazel for the very meaningful and very informative topics, lectures that they have shared today in our Zoominar. Okay. I have a question specific for Dr. Hazel. Um, this is about contextualization, ma'am. Because I have been also doing contextualization, and I have known that this strategy is widely used actually across content areas, and we have known that also that it's very important to utilize contextualization to facilitate effective teaching and learning. um, we know that, and I have learned from you that this is a strategy actually to relate specific context to the interest of the student. So basically, we're using context, to teach, to deliver our lessons and content relating to the interest of the students. My question, ma'am, is because as a strategy, content and integrated learning approach in contextualization had been used, especially in tertiary education in college students. Now, how do we strategize our lessons to the context which are not very interesting to the students? So basically, what I'm trying to ask is if the content of our lessons are not that very interesting to our students. Now, how do we strategize? Can you suggest strategies or approaches how to strategize and how to basically mold certain context so that it would become interesting to the students? No, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Harold, for the question. So it's a very nice question. And how are we going to contextualize or strategize for the contextualization of our lessons? Okay, usually sometimes it's quite difficult to contextualize lesson. But one of my strategies is that I make use of language with understanding or interest of the students. Because if you will be using language with their interest, especially coupled with in the real environment setting, students will be able to grasp that interest, or a certain interest will sparkle in their mind. This is very interesting topic. It is beyond my knowledge. Because if you will be using words which are of from so let's say for example mga highfalutin words, okay, those could not be very interesting to students. But if you will use their language, I'm sure, okay, they will listen to you. Okay, so make use of the language, make use of their interest, and of course, consider their environmental setting in contextualizing your lesson. So I guess I had answered your query, sir.
Yes, because I have seen from your example that basically we are using the resources of the community, right? like indigenous materials, like what you have suggested. And I guess also for us, no, because I'm not a language teacher, but I'm a science teacher, what you have suggested is basically doing relating to the community, no, using the community to teach our content. And that is very, I think for me, not only effective, but at the same time very meaningful and effective. Thank you so much, Dr. Hazel. Thank you so much.
Another one, Dr. Harold, you may also consider using real objects, especially if
Yes.
your topic is on science. Okay, your students will be more interested if they could see the objects, okay, before them or in front of them, for example. So you may
Yes.
bring objects inside the classroom if you can, but if you cannot, you may consider those strategies that I have used.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Hazel.
Thank you very much, Sir Harold, and thank you very much, Ma'am Hazel. We have a question here from Sir Daniel for Ma'am Lulu. What do you usually do to students when they do not show up during the online Zoom meeting class, even if they're already called their names? Is there any consequence for students who are passive in online classes?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daniel. Okay, well, usually I remind them to open webcam, but then when they didn't show up with the opening the webcam, I said to them, remind them, and also reprimand them. Now, it means that they didn't come to my class because in my campus there is some obligation that they have to come to my class and not apa sorry they are not allowed to join the class when they are not join the discussion session. No, sorry, I mean less than 71%. Sorry. Hello, hello there.
Okay. Uh, okay, Ma'am Lulu.
So I
I guess
will remind my students
it's,
that if
it's
they
clear already
didn't
for Sir
they
Daniel.
didn't
Sir
show
Daniel,
up.
do you have any follow-up
Hello,
question as to you?
hello. Okay,
Yes, yes, Ma'am Lulu, continue.
okay. So if they didn't show up my class, it means they didn't come to my class.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's clear. Another question for Ma'am Hazel from Sir Daniel. I would like the idea of teaching English using comics. Could you tell me in details or in detail how to use comics in class? How contextualization or how to contextualize the materials to the students' world? Ma'am Hazel?
Hello, Sir Dania. Thank you for that very nice question. Well, comics is one of the very interesting material that we can use in contextualizing our lesson. So I just want to ask if you have the time, you can make comics of your own. So you can make a dialogue of your own, okay, especially focusing on the topics that interest your students. But if you don't have time to make comics anymore or dialogues anymore, you may also use those which are locally available or those which are of interest of students. But to make it more contextualized, you may or you may make your own comics using topics that are related to your lesson and of course within the interest of your students. So that's all. I hope I have shared something. Thank you, Sir Daniel.
Thank you very much, Doc Hazel. I guess, Sir Daniel, do you have any follow-up question as to the questions that you have raised, Sir Daniel?
It's all
Okay,
clear, sir.
so let's
Yeah.
proceed
Thank you.
with, yes, sir. We have another question here for Ma'am Lulu from Jonel Abalahon. Good morning, Professor Lulu. Congratulations. I would like to ask following the online manners you've discussed and shared in an please turn off your mute your microphones to those who are okay. I'll go back to the question of Sir Jonel Abalahon for Professor Lulu. Congratulations. I would like to ask following the online manners you've discussed and shared in an unfortunate occurrence of a certain student's negative behavior and attitude during the online class. Despite the presence and orientation of online manners netiquette, how you're going to approach this kind of online affairs. Ma'am Lulu?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jonel Abelazon. Yeah. Okay, as I said before that I will remind them because they have a negative behavior. And then also, if they are still having a negative behavior, commonly I text him or her personally that perhaps there is something they have some problems to join the class, perhaps how to behave properly as well, and then how perhaps they have a problem when when understanding the material, something like that. So commonly I text personally. And yes, for your information, during this pandemic, some of my students having the problem joining the class, especially about buying the bandwidth, yeah, to have an internet connection, something like that, and then having the problem they have to go to work because having the financial problem, and then blah blah blah. So yes, for me, I have a special approach to my students to text them, and then if they have any reasonable explanation about the problem they have, I will give some dispensation to them. Even the obligation of the college ask them to join the class or perhaps to have a discussion session. But actually, in my discussion session, not only using synchronous teaching learning platform, but also mostly I using asynchronous teaching learning platform, especially Moodle. That's what, because Moodle having the small bandwidth, yeah, the small bandwidth, not other applications. So it's really help my students to adjust this hard situation. I think that's my approach to my students, to keep in touch with them and then know their condition, especially during this pandemic. As you know that all the people here around the world still adjust with this situation, right? So yes, I have the approach like that. Thank you, Mr. Jonel Abalazon. Hopefully
Thank you
it
very
can
much.
answer that question. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, you can reach out to Ma'am Lulul via email if you have other inquiries. Okay, let's have
Okay,
another
thank you.
question from Professor Junith Dalida. Sir, Professor Junith Dalida, your question, please.
Oh, hi, sir. Good morning. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to all the speakers who shared their knowledge today. I just want to address this question to Dr. Joaquin. Good morning, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay, to Dr. Joaquin. Good morning, ma'am. So, I just want to ask if how do you contextualize or assess students' development in speaking, or how do you assess their communication skills, especially today that other institutions are following modular mode of instruction, wherein most of the students are having a hard time to connect online. So what will be your recommendations in that situation, ma'am?
Okay, thank you for the question, Mom. Okay, so yes, you're right. It's very difficult right now to teach speaking, right? Okay, speaking especially in the context of concept of contextualization because we are doing the modular one. Okay, so if you can remember, so I have there listed some practices wherein we can contextualize our teaching, especially in terms of reading. Okay, so since you cannot have a direct contact with your students if you will be using modular, maybe you can design games, puzzles, or other reading materials wherein they can interact with their classmates if online connectivity is possible. But if it's not, okay, the most the most that you can do is for them to give activities like reading local newspapers, okay, or reading anything that is or anything that is available in their place or in their house, like as I said, local newspapers, local magazines, if there is, because it will develop also their, aside from their reading skills, but it can also develop their speaking skills. Or you may design activities wherein they can have a dialogue with their fellow members or their members in the family. Okay, so you may design activities that will engage them to have dialogues. Okay, dialogues with their parents, their siblings. Okay, so I guess I have answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that recommendation. Actually, yes, ma'am, that will be applied, especially in their modules. But as a teacher, we can't that make sure that they are really applying those reading text that you're going to put in that module. But thank you so much, ma'am, for that recommendation. And surely that will be applied the next time. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dalida. And we have many questions here coming in. And I hope that we can accommodate these questions if we still have the luxury of time. We have here one more question from Professor Vasquez, Malu Vasquez, for Dr. Joaquin. If I make a relatively minor change in the group problem, many of the students cannot apply what they just learned. Do you agree that context is official or is critical? The reason perhaps why, even though the problem might be similar to the one they just solved, if the context changes, students do not realize that what they have already learned still applies. Thank you very much. Ma'am Mokin, your short answer to that? Okay,
Okay,
well,
thank you. Thank you so much, Sir Villarreal. Thank you, Mamalu, for the question. Yes, I do agree with you that if you are going to change, if you are going to make a little twist of your lesson, which is beyond of their context, okay, they may find it difficult to understand. Okay, so if the context changes, students do not realize that what they have already learned still applies. Okay, so it is because maybe okay, it is in this premise that really context is very critical in teaching. So that's why, if possible, teachers should contextualize their lesson. Okay, the samples that you are making, for example, in your problem solving, must be beyond okay the experiences of the students. Okay, so make the examples that you have in your problem solving, especially for example in math. Okay, so because if you will have a little twist, they could not understand. So maybe I suggest that teachers must make use again of examples wherein it is beyond the understanding of the students. Maybe we can give examples which are related to their everyday living. So I guess I have answered question, Mama Lu. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question, Professor Vasquez, and thank you for the answer, Dr. Joaquin. And we have one online question from Professor Irwanda Sonsodek. Professor Irwanda Sonsodek, your question, please. Professor Irwanda. Professor Irwanda. Okay. While waiting for Professor Irwanda, we have questions here coming in for Professor Mam Lulul from Mam Noemi Bargo. Mam Lulul, I agree, the netiquettes must be taught in schools. So how will you know that they really practice the netiquettes? That question is from Mam Bargo.
Thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Nomi Bargo. Okay.
Dr. Bargo.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, how will you know that they really practice the netiquette? Yes, by following all the rules of communication when I remind to them, and also the rules of class policy as well. And then they also submit the assignment in time, participating the discussion session. It means that they do practice their netiquette, right? So yes, I guess that's my answer. I hope it's understandable to you, Mr. Bargo. Yeah.
Dr. Bargo.
Because, yeah. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that answer, Ma'am Lulu. We have one online question. We have a question from Professor Irwanda Sonsodek. Are you around, Professor Irwanda Sonsodek? Your question, please. Okay. None. She's not around, I suppose. Another question for Professor Lulul from Professor Edwin Jaime James. Professor Edwin Villaflor. Are behavioral influencing tools like such as rewards and penalties or carrot in a stick approach have an impact on students' netiquette?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edwin James Villaflor. Yeah. Okay, well, actually, sometimes I give some rewards to my students when they, when they follow some of the rule of communication or rule of the class. Yeah. For example, I give plus point, okay, some point in the end of the semester when they always, participate in discussion session, and then email or text in appropriate behavior, and also submit assignment in based on the due date, and then also join some quiz. Yeah, it means that they involve the class. And also, but for the penalties, actually it didn't happen to my class. I never give them some penalty actually, because when I remind them, it works. And then because we set the strict rule in the first meeting, so they to understand the class policy and then the rules during the semester. So for my experience, I never give them some penalty, even they were doing some mistake. I give some dispensation if they have a reasonable explanation what happened with them. And then I didn't get the word of carrot there, but I thought it's really answer your question. I do hope this is understandable. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lulul, for the answer. And we have, I guess, we will entertain one last question because we don't have the luxury of time as of this moment. Rest assured that your inquiries and your questions will be answered by the speakers via email or whatever uh, mode of communication they may be using. For Dr. Joaquin, the last question for this webinar series 3, what tools, this is a question from Edwin Villaflor, what tools can be used to measure the effectiveness of contextualizing the language, especially for kinesthetic learners?
Hello. So thank you for that question. Okay, so if your students are more of kinesthetic type, okay, so how will you measure if they really learn? Okay, so maybe it depends on your objectives of your topic or of your lesson. So sometimes in assessing or evaluating our students, it must depend on the objectives that we have. Okay, so it depends on your objective. So if you think that your objectives have been met, then you can say that your lesson or your strategy is quite effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joaquin, and to Professor Villaflor. And last call for Professor Erwan Sonsodek. If you're around, please raise your question. Professor Sonsodek. Okay. Can we entertain one last question? No more? We don't have the luxury of time. Thank you very much, everyone, for the questions that you have sent. Sorry that we cannot accommodate all your questions. Rest assured that the speakers will be answering those inquiries via email or any mode of communication. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, let us have a concluding message from our two distinguished speakers. First, from Professor Lulul Makdum. Ma'am, your message?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rose Andrew. Okay, well, yes, manner, especially netiquette, must be considered in any online environment. Everybody knows this quote, I guess. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Talk to people the way you want to be talked to, and respect is earned to given. So having a good etiquette in a real or online communication is a must because it represents how we treat others, not only as human, but also as a person, right? So treat others even you know them or not, just like your person. So as an educator, our student is our responsibility as well. Not only teach them to improve their cognitive aspect, but also we have to guide them how to having a great appropriate behavior as well. Thank you so much. Back to moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Lulul. And I guess if you speak kind words, you will be hearing kind echoes. I guess that's true for Professor Lulul's message that netiquette is a must, specifically out of this current crisis that we're facing. And of course, let us hear another closing remarks or a closing message from Professor Hazel Joaquin.
Okay,
Professor
thank you
Joaquin, your message,
thank you
please.
so much, Sir Villarreal. Okay, so contextualization can be done across disciplines. Okay, so it is very important that when we are contextualizing our lesson, let us always remember the real setting or environment wherein our students are in. Let us also consider the kind of language that we will be using and of course, the interest of our students to make it more meaningful. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Joaquin. And of course, every story has its own beginning and it has an end too. And at of this current time, we will now be issuing the exit tickets. We will be flashing it on screen so that you can, Sir Daniel will take over for him to flash the exit ticket. From my point, from Capi State University, Philippines, mabuhay, good morning, and see you on the next webinar series.
Thank you.
Before I end, may I announce the webinar series or the fourth webinar series on January 28, 2021. The speakers, we have the first presenter, Mr. Agostinos Hari, SPD MA, a conversation analysis using pragmatics approach as his topic. And for Capi State University's counterpart, we have Dr. Judel V. Protasio. He will be presenting a topic on assessment approach in flexible learning. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, from Capi State University, Philippines, mabuhay, good morning, and see you on the fourth webinar series. Sir Daniel, see you. Ma'am Lulu, see you. And Sir Daniel, I
Thank
guess, will
you.
now take it.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
very
Ros
much.
Andrew.
Okay, Dr. Andrew.
Yes, Sir
Thank you very
Daniel,
much for
please
handling
take
this
over.
webinar perfectly. Congratulations for all the speakers as well.
Yes, Sir
So
Daniel.
everybody,
Thanks,
please
Ma'am
kindly
Lulu.
access
Thank
this
you. Thank you, Dr.
link
Hazel.
Nice
See
meeting
you.
in order to get the certificate. We will only limit, we will give you access to hit this link until 1. Am I right, Ms. Lulu?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so please kindly access this link before 1 p.m. Indonesia time. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Hindi na makuan. My code.
Hello? Hello, sir?
Okay, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us today. I guess everyone has got the exit ticket link. So please share this to your colleague who are attending today's webinar series. So on behalf of the organizing committee of today's webinar, we would like to send our gratitude and we will sign out right now. So thank you very much. I'll see you again next time. You can capture, you can grab the ticket link on the chat box as well. All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sir Daniel, and to the rest of the group. Thank you, everyone. See you
Thank
next
you.
series.
Yeah.